A Fendt 1050 Vario rolls out of Marktoberdorf in southern Germany, pushing 517 horsepower through a stepless transmission. It rides on tires tall enough that a grown row crop farmer can stand under the axle and still have daylight over his cap. That's the machine. Marktoberdorf has been building Fendt tractors since 1930, and the brand sits under AGCO out of Duluth, Georgia now. But the engineering still comes out of Bavaria. For decades, the American answer to a tractor that big was a John Deere 9R or an 8R running out of Waterloo, Iowa. Deere has been bending iron there since 1918. Green paint, yellow wheels, the sound every kid in Iowa or Illinois grew up hearing across a quarter section in April. Deere earned that. Nobody serious denies it. But walk any farm show floor the last couple years and the conversations around the green row have shifted. Farm progress in Boone, Husker Harvest Days in Grand Island, the National Farm Machinery Show down in Louisville, producers aren't arguing horsepower anymore. They're arguing software. They're arguing who owns the tractor after the check clears. And in that argument, the German iron has been pulling guys who swore they'd never paint a shed anything but green. Fend mostly, with Klaas of Harsewinkel pushing in on the combine and forage side. Row crop operators, this one's for you. Hit subscribe if you've ever sat on hold with a dealer while a planter sat dead in the field during a tight window. Start with the transmission, because that's where the Fend argument actually begins. The Vario is a hydrostatic mechanical, continuously variable, and Fend has been refining it since 1995. No gears to hunt, no power shift jolt at the headland, just one pedal and a joystick. On a 1050, you've got 517 horses and an infinite ratio spread from a crawl to right around 37 miles per hour on the road. Deere's infinitely variable transmission is good, it is, but the Vario has 30 years of field hours behind it. Operators who run both back-to-back on a ripper. A big air drill tend to come back talking about how the Fend holds load on a grade. The cab is quiet enough you can hear the radio at idle. The hydraulics on a 900 Vario will throw 165 gallons a minute if you spec it that way. That matters when you're pulling a wide planter with a lot of electric and hydraulic draw on the toolbar. Then there's the small stuff that adds up over a 1-4 hour day. The armrest layout, the way the joystick falls under your hand, the brake to stop feature where you just step on the brake and the tractor holds without going to neutral. Headland management that actually remembers what you taught it. The Tractor Implement Management Protocol, TIM, letting an international organization for standardization bus implement, give commands back to the tractor. That means a baler can tell the Fend to stop while it ties a knot. That's a standard the European brands pushed hard, and it works across colors over there in a way it still doesn't really work over here. Now, the part that hits the body, a long day on a tractor isn't measured in horsepower, it's measured in what your spine feels like at sundown. The Fend cab suspension, the seat, the steering response. Guys in their 50S and 60S who've been farming since the 4020 was new will tell you the German cab is the difference between climbing down sore, climbing down ready to grease the planter. The visibility out of a Fend 700 or 900 around a front loader. A mounted implement is something you notice the first hour and appreciate every hour after. The HVAC actually keeps up when it's 96 degrees in July and you're closed up against the dust. None of this shows up on a spec sheet, all of it shows up in your back. And the operators talk, they always have a custom harvester out of Kansas running a fleet through the wheat run. A family operation in southern Minnesota running corn and beans, a sugar beet outfit up by the Red River. When one of them switches paint and the neighbors see the trade-in line at the dealer, word moves. AGCO's been opening and expanding Fendt-focused dealers across the Corn Belt for the last several years. Places like Heartland Ag Systems and the Fendt Lodge concept rolling parts and service deeper into territory that used to be Deere only. Parts availability was the old knock on European iron. It's not the knock it used to be. Here's where it gets ugly for Deere. And it's not about the iron at all. It's about the contract you sign when you buy the iron. In January 2023, the American Farm Bureau Federation and John Deere signed a memorandum of understanding on right to repair. Producers across the country read it and waited to see what changed. Then in January 2025, the Federal Trade Commission, joined by the Attorneys General of Illinois and Minnesota, filed suit against Deere, filed in the Northern District of Illinois over repair restrictions, alleging the company forced farmers and independent shops to go through authorized dealers for software-locked repairs. That case is moving. whatever the final ruling, the optics for a row crop operator who just wants to swap a sensor on a Sunday during planting are brutal. You bought the tractor, you can't fix the tractor. A dealer tech has to drive out with a laptop and a payload file to clear a code, and you're paying shop rate and travel while the window closes. The Fendt argument here isn't that AGCO is some pure-hearted savior. It's a global corporation out of Duluth, Georgia, and it has its own software and its own dealer network. But the European regulatory environment that Fendt was built inside forced a different posture on diagnostic access. The brand carries that posture into the American market as a selling point. When a producer in Iowa is choosing between a tractor he can get diagnostic access to, one where a paid-off machine still phones home before it'll let him move, that's not a horsepower decision. That's a sovereignty decision. That's the decision being made in a farm office at 11 at night with a spreadsheet open and a coffee going cold. The other piece is resale. Used Fendt values at auctions have held strong, especially on the 800 and 900 series. Sullivan Steffs, the big online, runs through Tractor Zoom. A clean used Vario with reasonable hours doesn't sit. Deere resale is still excellent on the 8R and 9R lines. Nobody's pretending otherwise, but the gap closed, and in some model years it flipped. When the trade math starts favoring the German paint, the conversation at the kitchen table changes. Deere isn't done, not even close. The factory in Waterloo still cranks out tractors that define what a row crop machine is supposed to be. The see and spray technology coming out of the Blue River acquisition is genuinely ahead of the field. The dealer density across the Midwest is something no competitor will match this decade. A producer who's been green his whole life has real reasons to stay green. The combine side, the precision ag stack, the financing through John Deere Financial, that's a moat. But the moat has a bridge over it now, and the bridge is painted Fendt green with red wheels. The toll is whatever it costs to walk away from a software contract that treats a paid-for tractor like a leased phone. That's the shift. That's what's actually happening in the shed conversations from Ohio to eastern Colorado. Not a revolt, a reconsideration. One producer at a time, one trade at a time, one planting season where the German tractor didn't need a dealer visit to start. If you're running row crop and you've been weighing the next trade, stick around. Subscribe, and we'll keep digging into the iron, the contracts, and the dealer moves that actually decide what's parked in your machine shed next spring.